Welcome back to Glenn's Comic Corner Classics as Non-Classics. It says number 1220 and Doubleshot number 1114. I have two DC trades. One's from very recent, the other one is basically stuff that's basically classic stuff featuring one character. First up it is Dark Knight Returns, The Golden Child. Yeah, it's a one-shot follow-up to Dark Knight 3: The Master Race, taking place 3 years after the events of that series. Yep, 3 years. Now, in case you're curious though, how old does that make Carrie Kelly, who is now Batgirl in this series? In the first series, she was 13. In Dark Knight Return, in Dark Knight Returns, she was 13. In Strikes Again, she was 16. In Master Race, she was 19. Here, she's 22. And here she's working on, well, she's basically teaming up with Laura, aka Supergirl. The thing about this continuity is that, well, now Laura herself is not, now her mother is not Lois Lane. Nope. I mean, obviously her father is Superman, obviously. Who is her mother? Why, it's frickin' Wonder Woman! Yep, that probably gave DC the idea years later to put these two in a relationship, even though it makes no goddamn sense at all. By the way, who did Lois end up in this world? She ended up with the Guardian, which I'm like, really? But that's Frank Miller for you. Oddly enough, Batman and Superman are nowhere to be seen in this series. Well, in this one shot. Yeah, they're not here. Mostly put, it's just basically Supergirl and Batgirl dealing with basically a riot, and a lot of people are protesting over like a silhouette of Donald Trump, of all people. Yes. A comic features Donald Trump and features him in negative light. I'm not going to get into basically what's going on with him right now because it is so much a big political mess right now. Yes, Frank Miller writes this thing. Unlike Dark Knight's writes again, the Dark Knight 3: The Master Race, that was written by Brian Azzarello, where Frank Miller basically is a writer in name only. This book basically can tell by the artwork that I'm not really a big fan of this artwork. It's basically very oddish. It doesn't really fit Batman at all. Yeah. The Golden Child is simply put just the return of Superman's son. The artwork is done by Raphael Grandpa. Yeah. I'm not really a big fan of this art style. The only reason I got it because, well, it's Frank Miller, and, well, I like the stuff he did for basically, since it's part of the same continuity as Dark Knight Returns, I figured out why the heck not. Also, Laura still does a thing where she refuses to step foot on Earth's soil. She prefers to simply float. Yes. Apparently, Frank Miller's right to that for some reason. I think they actually got over that in Dark Knight 3: Master Race. Oh yeah, let's ignore the fact that some other writer who came in basically to fix something he did, and just ignore it. Also, for some reason, get this, main villains of this one shot is Darkseid and the Joker. Yep, Darkseid and the Joker. Now, so I was like, what? Really? I thought the Joker was dead. He killed himself by snapping his own neck in the Dark Knight Returns miniseries. Nope, here he is here, alive and well. How the heck he's alive? No idea. Also, what the heck is Darkseid doing here? No idea either. Yeah, and then basically, the thing just ends abruptly with supposedly, like, Supergirl being defeated by Darkseid by being sent up to their planet. Darkseid being beaten by frickin' Batman. Well, Batgirl, actually. And that's it. It's a very abrupt ending they did to this particular one-shot. I kind of wish this was a miniseries, but nope, it had to be a freaking one-shot. I don't know why. I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. We'll give it 9.5 because I like the story. But the only reason I don't give it a 0.5 like I normally would is because the ending was very abrupt, and I'm not really a big fan of the art style. Alright, next up is another Batman book. This is The Huntress Origins. This is basically not Helen Bertinelli. Nope. When people think of the Huntress, people think of Helen Bertinelli. This is the original Huntress, Helena Wayne, which you're probably thinking, wait, didn't they already have a version of this character pop up already recently in the Earth 2 stuff? Yes. And like with that continuity in this one, And of course, the second, there's basically 3 Earth 2s. This is the original one. This is where this is set. The second one, basically, Jeff Johns introduced as part of a storyline with the sequel to Kingdom Come. And the third one was introduced recently by James Robinson. This book is simply put collects a lot of her early stuff. Doesn't collect. Now this book does collect these following books. This collects her first appearance from DC Superstar 17. Also, her material that she appeared for Batman Family, issues 18 and 20. Yeah, that was a brief ongoing series in the 70s when I read. And here's something interesting, though. This book actually outsold Detective Comics, believe it or not. And the plan was to cancel Detective, but they decided to move the stories in this one, in this book, and move the Detective, and made the book like about $3 at that point. It was actually like a $1 book. It also collects basically her backup feature stories from Wonder Woman 271 to 87, 289 to 89, 289 to 290, and 294 to 85. It doesn't collect her entire feature for the book because I've actually read the other issues. Now, that's one thing I've had a problem even with the original version of this trade, where it didn't collect all of her stories. I would think that they would, but nope, they don't. This is simply a lot of her solo work, basically. Now, in all 3 versions, she's our Batman and Catwoman. Something apparently current DC doesn't want to do. Have Batman and Catwoman have a frickin' child. Because, oh, God forbid we do that. Oh, wait, the guy who basically says it's been fired by DC Comics. Because even a lot of people agree that was a stupid idea he had. But in the case of this continuity, I mean, she basically fights the Joker. She teams up with her basically her adopted brother, Dick Grayson, who puts on the Batman costume briefly to tease the Joker. Now, while she's basically as the Huntress, her father is dead. Yeah, he got killed off in an issue of Adventure Comics, believe it or not. Yeah. And here's the thing about Batman of the Earth 2 continuity. This is the Batman who made a debut way back in Detective Comics number 27. No, not the one that came out a couple years ago. Not that one. The original one back in the 30s. Yes. He got killed by some low-level thug. He killed him while he was in the Bat costume. And also at the time, he had come out of retirement because he just felt like, at the time, he was also the police commissioner. Yes, Bruce Wayne was the police commissioner. Yep. Now, this book is written by Paul Levitz. Yeah, all the stories are from Paul Levitz with Joe Stan in the artwork. Yes. Also, Bob Layton and Jerry Ordway, I just mentioned these 2 guys, Bob Layton and Max Mann, are the inkers for these stories. Now, who does this awesome cover? This is Brian Batchelor. The guy, yeah, I think it's about his name, right? Brian Bolad, who's most famous for doing Batman the Killing Joke with Alan Moore. Also, she has a 2-part story where she fights Solomon Grundy. Yes, Solomon Grundy. Which has a lot of people tend to mistake Solomon Grundy for a Batman villain, all because the Huntress fighting him. The thing is, Solomon Grundy is not a Batman villain, despite other people tend to convince, but some people at DC convince that he is. He isn't. He's an Alan Scott Green Lantern villain, not a Batman villain. But these stories are pure classic, what they are, and it's a fun read if you're into basically reading like short stories related to characters basically back from the 70s. Yeah, these stories all came out back in the 70s. Yep, believe it or not. Came out from the period of 1978, 1977, 1978, and 1980 to 1982. Yep. Oh, and also, Huntress's feature for Wonder Woman actually went beyond where they collected in here, and it actually skipped 300 and went straight to about 300 and I think about 27. I've read. Yeah, that's how long her feature was in the book. Yeah, though her feature was one of 3 backup features the Wonder Woman Volume 1 title had. There was also a backup feature where you have Wonder Woman was a child. There was one for Donna Troy. Huntress was the 3rd one they had, and Huntress was one that lasted for a pretty good period of time. And yet, here's the thing. Huntress gets her backup feature collected, but not Donna Troy. Does that make any sense? I give this book a 10 out of 10. It's a fantastic book, and Now, I would say that people who worked on this, Paul Levitz is still very much alive. I don't know about Joe Stanton. I don't know. I know Jerry and Bob Layton are still alive. I met Bob Layton a couple of years. Ran into him just last year. So I would say a lot of people working this book are very much alive. It's just that, well, I believe the people who created her basically, now Paul Levitz did in fact work on this, but he didn't work on he did help create the reintroduction of the character in the Huntress brief ongoing series post crisis. Yeah, post crisis. Yep, where that was the Helena Bertinelli, where I don't know if anybody notices. Basically, Helena Wayne's mask is very similar to Helena Bertinelli. Now, that's the only thing they have in common is the fact that they have the same first name, Helena, except they changed the last name. And the post-crisis version is the daughter of a gangster who became vigilante after the death of her family. And her secret identity is Helena Bertinelli. She's actually a teacher, which I'm glad the fact in the back of Birds of Prey tab they actually brought that aspect back from her, which was kind of missing from her time in the Grayson book, where she was a supporting character in the series. Yep, but not much else to say about these two books. I mean, Golden Child, good story. Kind of wish it was a mini-series of one shot. I'm not really a big fan of the artwork. And as for Huntress Origins, good book. Okay, so that's the specific review. Next review is the end of an era. Well, end of a volume anyways. And the start of an era. Okay, to the next video. Bye.